guys, my name is Shakina. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm walking through forest. I want to give you my book recommendation. First on the list we have Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry. When I read this, I learned that I don't really like fiction books because Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry, it's cute. I would give it a 7 out of 10. It's about these two like black teenagers. They fall in love with each other. After reading that, I felt like I don't really like romance novels. I don't really like fiction as much as I used to when I was younger. The story itself was good. Some parts were very slow. Since it was fiction, it was like easier to read quickly. So I would just like binge read like the slow parts because like I was waiting for it to get good. I think if I would have read Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry when I was like a little younger, I probably would have liked it more. Next fiction book is Monday's Not Coming. Monday's Not Coming is one of the few fiction books I've read kind of recently. Monday's Not Coming is one that like broke me. Like it was so good. Another thing with Monday's Not Coming, during the slow parts I would kind of like binge read it because I was waiting for it to get to the good part. I literally read like over 200 pages. Well, I don't remember how long the book is, but I read like probably like 150 pages one night because like I was just waiting for it to get good. The slow parts, I just kind of like speed read through them. I started reading Monday's Not Coming because like I saw a lot of people talking about it on TikTok and asked my friend about it and she was like, yeah, that book broke me. And so when I started reading it and I would get to like slow parts, I'm like, everyone hyping it up this much and it's this slow. When I got to that ending, like I did cry. It was actually gut-wrenching a little bit. It was so freaking good though. 10 out of 10. No, actually I lied. Monday's Not Coming, I would give 9 out of 10 just because the slow parts felt so slow. Once I got to the end, I understood why. 9 out of 10. Next fiction book is The Alchemist. The Alchemist is technically fiction, but it's also like falls under the like genre of like spirituality, but I still count it as fiction. It was really good. I love The Alchemist. 11 out of 10. One of my friends was reading it and she's not really into self-help books or like spirituality and stuff like that. She didn't really like it. We did agree like it is a really deep book. Because of that, I love it so much. I would give The Alchemist 11 out of 10. But it's about this boy who's a shepherd who goes on a journey. He like travels the world and shit. I don't remember where he was. I want to say Egypt, but that might be wrong. I don't want to give too much away. I give The Alchemist 11 out of 10. And then I don't know if I said what Monday's Not Coming is about. It's about this girl named Monday. Actually, it's about her best friend, but I forgot her best friend's name. Monday goes missing. Her best friend is trying to find her. She's the only one who really seems to like be trying for her. The last fiction book that I read was Song of Achilles, and I read it because when it comes to fiction, I need like a really good book. I need one where everyone's saying this is an amazing book. It needs to have a great emotional ending. Usually that means it's really, really sad. The Alchemist was a happy ending. Most fiction books, like I need them to have like a really sad ending because like it keeps me interested. When I was on TikTok, a whole bunch of people were recommending Song of Achilles. I've heard about it. When I read it, I will say like a common thing with me with fiction is like I find that fiction has a lot more slower parts, a lot of like context storytelling. Song of Achilles, I mean, it did have some. Compared to the other fiction books I read, it was good. Like I didn't feel like it was that slow. I did like the speed of like the storytelling. I felt like a lot went down just when I thought like, oh, it can't, like this is the plot, this is the max, then more shit would happen. So like I liked that. For Song of Achilles, I wrote down 8.2 out of 10. I did like the ending. People would say like, oh yeah, the ending was so sad, and it is. I consider Song of Achilles a happy ending. I consider it a happy ending. That's why like I liked it even more, because for a long time, I hope this isn't a spoiler, but like there's a plot twist. Once I got to the end, I was like, okay, I understand the hype, but like this shit is about to piss me off. Like the ending is about to piss me off. When I was like in the last couple of chapters, I was like, bitch, I'm giving this shit a 2 out of 10 because no way they made me read all this shit and it's just gonna end like that. I liked the ending. I was sad. I consider that a happy ending, and I liked Song of Achilles. Like for a fiction book, I did like it and give it a 8.2 out of 10. Now we're gonna get into the non-fiction books. First on the list is Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. It's a really popular book. It talks about a lot of things, but like neuroscience a little bit, actually a lot of it, like the mind, body, and spirit connection, and like the science behind that, and like talking about manifestation, spirituality as well. That's why I was like interested in it. That's one of the longest books I've read. It's like over 400 pages. It took me forever forever to read. Some parts are like very sciencey. I was trying to pay attention. It's almost like a lot of content, but it's really, really good. Like, I was interested. It was just like, oh my god, I've read this much and I'm not even halfway done. It was just a really long book. I read maybe to page like around 200, something like that. I took a break and then I didn't come back to it for months, dreading how long it was. By the time I picked it up again and finished it, I enjoyed it. Why I give it an 8.5 is because it's really long, so it took forever to read. Some parts get really sciencey, and when it gets to those parts, I kind of fuck trying to understand it. As long as I understand the other stuff, but like the actual parts that had like, it felt like they had like scientific jargon, those were like my slow parts. The parts were like, I'm not really even gathering much from this because it's so sciencey. Like, I'ma just skim those a little bit. Other than that, I really enjoyed it. 8.5 out of 10. It was like the first book I read into like wanting to for real learn more about spirituality and stuff and become more informed about it. Next, we have The Four Agreements. This book I gave a 10 out of 10. I have nothing bad to say about it. It was also one of the first books I read when I started showing like an interest in spirituality and like wanting to read just books that I just find like spiritually healthy, if that makes sense. And this is one of my favorite books. 10 out of 10. It's basically like 4 critical, I don't want to call them rules, but agreements that the author says to kind of like live by. They're really beautiful. I really like how the author, I guess, writes, because it's not really like storytelling, but they express it really well. Really beautiful. 10 out of 10. Next, we have All About Love by Bell Hooks. And this was the first full book I read by Bell Hooks. I first got introduced to her my freshman year of college in my English class. I loved what we were reading of hers. I had written down an 8.9 out of 10. I think that's because the book does have like some slow parts, but it's really, really good. It's not even, no, I take that back. It's not even like slow parts. I noticed like when I was reading that book, she'll like talk about one of the points. Afterwards, she keeps like explaining it. After a certain point of like each idea she was expressing about like love, is essentially like a take on love, like in all aspects of life almost. It felt like she would over explain to the point where like about every topic I was reading something she just said, the same idea being reiterated. When there would be like those extra chunks of like breakdown after she like just explained it, those are the parts that would feel slow, because it's not like an extra sentence, it's like a whole page. And I'm like, girl, the last like 5 pages you was breaking down this idea, and like, well, why we got 2 extra pages saying the same shit you just said? There, it felt like filler room, but it didn't hurt. It just made like reading it a little less enjoyable. It made it sound more textbooky, more boring, because the book itself was really good. And I think that's like the con that does come with nonfiction. There might be those moments where you're reading and it does feel like a textbook. All About Love, I give 8.9. One thing that I really appreciate about All About Love though is that throughout her book, basically like the references she would use, I would go read the references she was talking about. Like, I'm not talking about the references at the back of the book, but like she would quote somebody and then build her idea off of that. And so I would go read whatever work she was talking about from like the quote or like the study she was talking about, and those books were phenomenal. One of the works she talked about in All About Love was The Road Less Traveled by Scott Peck. That one I give a 10 out of 10. I have nothing bad to say. I would say like it is one of those books where I read it because I feel like it did speak on spirituality. Some of the time the pieces she was referencing, they would be like intense, if that makes sense. Like they would be about the mind, or about from like a scientific perspective, or they would be about like mind, body, soul connection, or just really cool nonfiction pieces. I would literally use her references as book recs, and I love them. So one of those was The Road Less Traveled by Scott Peck. It's about a lot of things. It's not like a narrative, but kind of just like what I just said. It's about all of that. Another one of the books she would like refer to a lot was Do What You Love, The Money Will Follow. Did not like that book. It wasn't bad. It just felt like it was more so hopeful, if that makes sense. It just felt like a collection of people's dreams almost, or aspirations. Looking back, it just felt like I'm reading examples of people going after their dreams, because the author would talk about that a lot, use examples a lot. I never really got their point. It was more so like for example, this person is going after their dream job, I have the best hope for them. It wasn't that long, but for me not liking it, it was longer than I wanted. That one I would get like a 6.5 out of 10. The last book I'm going to talk about is Braiding Sweetgrass by Kimmerer. This book is very long. I think over 400 pages. I give it a 10 out of 10. I loved it. It's written by the author I think she's a biologist and ecologist or something like that. Something like environmental science. Like she's an environmental scientist. She got her degree for that, but she's also indigenous, and she talks about her upbringing and her relationship with like nature and with plants, and how because she was raised that way with like those values, that's why she wanted to become a scientist and why she wanted to study that in school. The majority of society, we don't value like nature that way. We treat them as like objects, and how she grew up with like a much more interconnected relationship with nature. She also has a lot of Native American history, specifically for her tribe. It was really cool to read because I did not learn that in school. Like that's crazy now that I think about it. Like, well, I did not learn about like indigenous history. I got like some exposure to it in this book. That's like insane because it's literally American history. Like, you did not learn that. She also talks about the scientific perspective of certain plants. It's just really beautifully written. It's almost like poetic. Long story short, it's about nature and plants, and it's written by an indigenous author, and I give it a 10 out of 10. I won't read it again because it is so long. Maybe I will, just not anytime soon. For a book to be that long and me still give it a 10 out of 10, like, it was a really good book. I'm currently reading Ain't I a Woman by Bell Hooks. I have so many books, like over 50 for sure in my notes that I plan to read. Just have not been locked in. If you made it this far and you have any book recommendations, please list them. I love learning about neuroscience, spirituality, if you want to call it manifestation. When it comes to like nonfiction, I like fiction. I wanted to have like a really good ending because I feel like nonfiction, the topics I read, I'm really interested in and like want to learn more about. But like for fiction, like the story needs to be like great. So that usually means like really sad books, like books that leave you crying at the end. Yes, let me know. And thank you so much for watching.